Professor Brondisio, your research is closely connected to changes in the Amazon forest. Say, over the past 20 years or so, what changes have we seen, and what changes can we expect to still see in the future?
Well, if you step back 40 or 50 years, you can say that the Amazon is a microcosm of what we call the Great Acceleration, right? So the exponential growth in all sorts of human activities and environmental impacts. And the region has been, unfortunately in other ways, a laboratory of that kind of experiment. And you see both sides of that experiment. So you see the dramatic consequence and the impact that it has had on indigenous people, on the environment, and continue to see in many forms of pollution. You also see the hopes of the way people react, the way social movements are formed, the way indigenous peoples are organized, the way governments are trying to find alternatives for the problems that we created there in such a short period of time. So it is an emblematic region of the challenges that we have today. And also offering ways out and solutions that can be built out of those challenges to confront the problems that we have.
So in this way, you could almost say that the Amazon could be a symbol for that we have entered this new geological epoch, the Anthropocene.
The Amazon makes you humble. So it is a symbol in many ways. If you look back, there are millennia of transformation of that environment. And now we understand that the region, and a good part of the forests of the region, are cultural forests, are forests that emerged out of that interaction. And therefore, in that sense, yeah, it kind of shows how we've been working in this planet and in that region over time, and what we mean by the Anthropocene. On the other hand, it's so large, and the size is so humbling for us that we see the power of nature, and we see that supersedes what we see. So it put us in that two sides of the Anthropocene, of the power of transformation that we have in such a large scale, but also the power of being subsumed by nature in that size of river, that size of a forest, the ways the river flows in rains, and the river flows in waters and everything else. So it is a good place to reflect that while we can be, or we think we are in control of some of the natural cycles of the world, we are also subsumed under the power of nature that a region like the Amazon makes us remind all the time. So,
so what would you say, what does the Anthropocene mean? What does it mean to you?
As I think with the larger take on the term, it means a lot of different things. It means that self-reflection of the scale of human intervention and how we need to think about the environment as sort of interdependent on many of the things that we do. It means, on the other hand, as an academic, it means a form of reflection of how we understand human-environment interactions. And the Anthropocene changed the equation that we use it for many decades or centuries in separating people and environment and trying to understand how they interact, how they interact as separate entities. And it's really touching on the tensions that different disciplines, different cultures, different people have thought about that relationship. So it means an opportunity for reflection, both a reflection that I hope will lead to consequences and to political change and economic change, and reflection in terms of how do we think and approach human environmental issues more broadly.
Mm-hmm. And how do you think programs like, for example, PECS or Future Earth, how can they contribute more efficiently to coming global assessments?
Programs like PECS, which, and Future Earth, they come from a generation of programs that started mostly in the 1980s. And which means that they have a very strong legacy on programs that aimed at doing things collaboratively. that's the human capital and the knowledge that we have, you know, from 30 years of these kinds of networks and programs. It's invaluable. And it's that human capital that I think we see now taking form in PECS, meaning forming a network that offers a space for collaboration beyond our traditional lines of research or intervention. So I'm very fond and I feel very strong about the role that programs like PECS and Futures play today, because they link people across the world. They set a message that is very ambitious, a message of solution-driven, a message of interdisciplinarity, a message of stakeholder engagement. It doesn't mean that we know how to do that, but it means that it sets a place for us to look for, and therefore to leave our comfort zones and engage and try to learn differently and try to learn from each other as we work. As you see in a conference, that, you know, the PECS conference, you see people from very different places coming from very different disciplines, from different backgrounds, but around the same questions. So it's a great example of how the power of ideas and the power of human capital, in the sense of networking and collaborating and working together, can lead and can get us to advance on our knowledge about such complex problems that we deal with today.